Gene, take a good look at the boxed in article.
Hey. Well, that's Stacy's piece she did on the Policemen's Athletic Association dinner.
Yes, it is, and it's very well written. But it's 4 columns of puff. But I had to use it. Front page, right in the center of the locals. You want to know why? Because I haven't gotten that follow-up from you on Lori Martin's story.
Oh, Mr. McGovern, now
I also haven't got the story on Miriam Mason. Now, what are you waiting for, Redlin?
Well, I know you haven't gotten them, but I have good reason for not doing those follow-ups, Mr. McGovern.
I am not interested in your reasons. I'm running a newspaper here, not an excuse for one. Now, I want those follow-ups, and I want both of them right here on my desk. You seem to be having some second thoughts about these assignments, Gene. Now, if I didn't think you could handle the legwork, I wouldn't have given them to you.
I want to do the follow-up. I intended to have them completed by now.
You intended? A reporter's intentions don't make very good copy for the first edition.
Well, I've already done some preliminary work on the Lori Martin story.
Oh, you've interviewed her?
No, not yet.
No, not yet. The woman survives a rape attempt. She accidentally runs into her assailant in her husband's clinic. She makes a positive identification of the guy, and you haven't interviewed her yet.
Can you imagine what it must have been like for her to face Blue Nobles again?
I wouldn't have to imagine it if you'd interviewed her. I would already know.
I just don't think it's the right time now to confuse her with a bunch of questions.
Oh, you don't think so, huh? I suppose you don't think it's the right time to interview Charles Carpenter either.
No time is the right time with Charles Carpenter. I can't get anywhere with that man.
Are you saying that from experience, or is it your imagination again?
Look, I don't want to write anything that might endanger his daughter's life.
Where was that concern when you wrote the first article about Kingsley's missing socialite?
Miriam Mason's disappearance needed to be known. Now, I have a hunch that the kidnapper probably contacted Charles Carpenter by now, but doing some play-by-play of the negotiations in print is not going to help him get his daughter back.
You leave the decisions about whether we print the negotiations up to me. You just find out whether there was a kidnapping or not. Now, if you don't think you can handle that, I'll find another reporter who can. Am I getting through to you, Redlin?
Yes.
Now, I know Lori Martin and Miriam Carpenter are friends of yours, but a good journalist cannot let his personal relationships stand in the way of his professional responsibility.
You'll get your article.
Well, I know I will, one way or the other. Now, I would suggest that you arrange interviews with Lori Martin and Charles Carpenter right now.
Cheer up. At least I don't see any smoke.
What?
The great McGovern didn't burn you at the stake.
Believe me, you almost did.
Gene. He's been on a rampage all day. He called the society editor in first thing this morning. She came out with her mascara running.
Can't anyone convince that guy that he's not always right?
Only if you can convince an octopus it doesn't need all 8 of its arms. What did he call you in for, if you don't mind my asking?
2 follow-ups I haven't done yet.
Let me guess. One definitely has to be on Lori Martin and Blue Nobles.
Correct.
And the other one? I'd say either A, whatever happened to the funds to subsidize low-rent housing for the elderly, or B, whatever happened to Miriam Mason. I picked B.
Yeah, correct again.
Did Mr. McGovern keep you on the assignments?
Well, he did for now, but he said that if I couldn't deliver the copy, that he would get some other reporter who would.
Well, I know one reporter who'd gladly trade Kingsley's 27th annual dog show for one of your assignments. That is, if you don't want to do them.
It's not that, Stacy. These follow-ups concern two friends of mine. Now, I can do more harm than good if they're not handled right.
The articles have to be done, Gene. You just have to find a way to do them to benefit Lori and Miriam.
Yeah, and to satisfy our managing editor, too. Do you have any suggestions?
You're asking me? According to Walter McGovern, I'm the eternal greenhorn.
Yeah, well, your guess is as good as mine. Well, I could talk to your father again. Everything that your father knows about Blue, though, I've already covered in the first article.
I showed my mother that article. She was surprised about Dad.
Your mother? Your father's trying to find her, isn't he?
I guess, but she's never been lost. She came back to Kingsley yesterday. She'd been vacationing in Mexico.
Does he know that she's here?
I don't know. But Mom very tactfully said she isn't ready yet to see Dad.
Well, what about you, Stacy? I mean, are you ready to see your father?
Face it, Vicky, you didn't get anywhere with Peter last night, and you never will.
Maybe you're right. You should have seen him last night. He couldn't get away from me fast enough. It was like I was,
Contagious? Allow me to be the first one to say I told you so.
What gives with that guy anyway? I'm trying to understand him. The night started out great. We had dinner at King's Arms. We stayed for the dancing afterwards. But as soon as we got back to my apartment, we didn't get near the bedroom door.
He probably thought he'd get struck by a bolt of lightning if he took another step. All those religious fanatics he lives with.
That is some influence his mother has on him. He's as old-fashioned as my parents. Oh, and you know why he said he couldn't spend the night with me?
Oh, let me guess. It's because he respected you too much, and he didn't want to cheapen the relationship, right?
Yeah, in a nutshell. How'd you know?
Vicky, it's the standard cop-out that Terry and Scott have been feeding Lori and Peter for as long as I know. You know, they made me feel like a freak when I was there. I was beginning to forget the natural order of things. You know, after midnight, I was expected to be on my way up to my room and my date off going home.
Well, you were lucky. Peter and I didn't even make it till midnight before he left.
Vicky, will you take my advice for once and drop that wimp and get someone who's not afraid of losing their celibacy?
I was thinking, though, you know, it's kind of nice to have someone treat you that way. He stopped dating everybody at Kingsley just because of me.
It's because no one else will have them. Vicky, look, how many more of these reports do we have to get done?
About 8 or 9. Why?
Well, seeing as our work isn't taking your mind off Peter, I have something that will. Completed soil analysis report for Gil.
You finished it already?
Right down to the last speck of dirt.
It really looks authentic. Soil is sufficient to support structure.
Instead of the soil is insufficient to support structure like was on the original?
Yeah, I guess Gil will never know the difference, huh?
No one will. I mean, look at that forging job on the signature. Isn't that great?
Looks exactly like William Schaefer's.
See, now you're gonna know because you're the one that gets all his reports in here, right?
Nancy, do you think getting even with Gil is really worth all this trouble?
Vicky, when that Canterbury office complex comes crumbling down on sandy soil, then Gil Prescott's gonna be through in this town. He's never again gonna be in the same position to walk over you or anyone else in Kingsley.
Jean, I haven't seen my father in over 2 years. Dropping by for a visit isn't as easy as you think.
Stacy, he is your father, or doesn't that mean anything to you?
Of course it does. I've never stopped thinking of him as my father, even when I was ashamed to call him that.
So is that what's holding you back, that you're still ashamed of it?
I just don't know who he is. Is he the father I once thought the world revolved around? Is he Dr. Dave Phillips again, the obstetrician? Or is he the alcoholic who was responsible for my brother's death? and for dragging the family's name into the gutter, as Amber keeps reminding me.
Look, all I know is I've never known a man so bent on making a go at this Chesterfield clinic as your father is. Now, if he's boozing it up on the side, he's doing a pretty good job of keeping it hidden.
It's not that I don't believe you. I suppose I'm just more like my mother than I'd realized.
Oh, so you want to see him, but you're just not ready yet, huh?
Yeah, even though I told her that I was.
It sounds to me as though you need a friendly little push in the direction of the clinic.
It would take more than a... You could be right.
Oh?
If I had a reason, maybe a professional one for stopping by, maybe it wouldn't be so hard to face Dad.
Huh. And I just scratched the one that we had. It's the article I did on Blue Nobles.
Which isn't necessary for your follow-up, but what about for another one?
On what?
On the feature you did on the opening of the clinic. Do you think McGovern would let me do it?
You mean if you could sell him the idea? He just might buy it. If you could get him to see, the artwork could run along with the one that I'm doing on Lori now.
Yes, kind of a comparison. In your article, how Lori Martin is coping after her ordeal, what the police are doing to find Blue Nobles.
Yes, exactly what I had in mind.
And then in my article, how the clinic, seen as a common ground between Lori and Blue, is progressing. I could start by writing... Oh. Listen to me.
I am. Hey, I like what I'm hearing.
No, Jean, knowing Walter McGovern, he'll probably like the idea and then have another reporter write the story.
But it's worth a try, Stacy. He knows you're a good writer.
A good writer who's a woman. He still thinks the newsroom's no place for females.
No, maybe you're gonna get to do that piece after all. I still think it's worth a try if it means getting you closer to your father. That is what you want, isn't it?
Yes, very much. Only it's easier said than done.
I'm not so sure this plan is foolproof, Nancy.
Why not, Vicky? He's not going to know that we faked a report. All he wants is his soil analysis thing, and that's what he's getting.
But do you realize what we're getting?
Yeah, sweet revenge at long last.
We're getting a situation we could regret. I'd rather have my job than revenge. I'm up for a promotion next year. This little caper of ours could ruin my whole career.
Vicky, is it your job you're worried about, or is it saving Gil Prescott's neck?
You know Gil means nothing to me now.
Well, so you say. But let me remind you that how Gil Prescott led you on and how he just treated you terribly, what, 2 or 3 times?
3 times.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I want to get even, but only with Gil. A Canterbury foul could cost the whole company to go under.
So?
Well, think about all the people at Prescott Development who would be out of a job until it got back on its feet. Peter, for one.
Peter has got a job for his life. I mean, he's so chummy with Gil. I would think they were exchanging notes about the two of you, but I know that Peter hasn't even gotten around to taking any.
Why don't we just leave Peter out of this, okay?
Well, you're the one that brought him up. I'm quite happy to leave him out of it. In fact, the day that Peter decides to finally pack his bags and get out of Kingsley, well, I'll be real happy about
Nancy,
it.
okay, look, I just want you to see that we haven't thought this thing through.
Well, what haven't we thought through?
Where the false soil analysis report will end up. Gil files everything he gets from this office. And when that building collapses, the report's the first thing he's going to check. Now, how do we explain to him why his report's different from the one we have on file?
Vicky, we're not going to have to do that because we'll have exchanged that one for the original one by then.
Well, how are we going to make the switch?
Don't worry about it. I've already figured that out.
I see, Mr. Webster. Well, thank you for calling. I appreciate it. Come on in, Ben.
Terry?
Gene, I thought you were Ben.
Oh, no, I saw him going in the opposite direction down the hall.
Oh, wouldn't you know it? He was supposed to meet me here a half hour ago. He promised to give me an update on how things were going at the clinic this morning.
Ah, well, I could use a little update myself, but not on the clinic.
Well, listen, sit down. I'll give you one about the house.
Thanks. Have you and Nancy gone before the Chancery yet?
That's just it. We were scheduled for a hearing this week, but Harold Webster just notified me that it's been postponed until next week.
Nancy didn't delay this, did she? I mean, Carla and I still have a chance to buy the place?
Definitely. I don't even think Nancy knows about the postponement yet. But what brings you here?
Oh, I'm working on another story on Lori. I really need to talk to her.
Jean.
Terry, I know that she's identified Blue as the one who attacked her. But still, we need more details.
She finally is remembering all those details. But at one time, I didn't think she ever would.
You mean she's finally talking about what happened?
A little. Dr. Diedrichson says she's past the point of regression, but, Jean, she's still not as emotionally strong as she was before the attempted rape.
Yeah. I understand, and I promise you I will try to not upset her or anything like that, but I just need to talk to her.
Well, I don't mind, but you're going to have to ask Ben. In this case, it's Lori's husband, not her mother, who has the final word.
Well, I hope those final words are yes. I'll go and look around for him and see if he hasn't left the hospital yet, so...
He should still be around here, and when you see him, let him know that I'm waiting for him.
I'm sorry. Hi, Jean. I didn't realize you were here.
Well, you're not going to have to tell him that I'm waiting for him after all. And maybe you can ask him what you asked me.
Gil, I already told you there is no letter here from Planning and Development. Here, you can look yourself. You don't believe me.
I just don't want to get further behind schedule on the Canterbury project. You know how costs rise if I do. And she should have had these permits and the soil analysis ready by now.
Well, why are you expecting them in the mail? She always calls us when they're ready.
Yeah, well, that's one public service we no longer get.
When did that stop?
When she started her little vendetta against me. You know what really bugs me is I take her out a couple of times and then she starts thinking that she has an exclusive on me.
Oh, so you actually took her out. For some reason, I always thought you stood her up every time.
Oh, real funny. You know that every time I ever broke a date with Vicky was because of a business reason? And I even tried to apologize to her.
Well, Vicky is among the privileged. I mean, an apology from the Gil Prescott? It's more than you do for your own sister.
What, trying to tell me I owe you an apology for something?
Yes, I am. And you can start with telling me how sorry you are about dinner last night. You never showed up at the Greenbrier, and Russ and I waited for you.
I took a rain check. You know, the last restaurant Weaver and I were in at the same time, it needed to be remodeled. So I thought it would be just better if we stay away from each other. You know, no more fist fights.
Russ already promised me there would have been no trouble.
Yeah, and nothing like a Russ Weaver promise, is there?
Now, what's that supposed to mean?
Well, he did promise to take you to lunch, didn't he? Well, where is he?
Well, I don't know. I'm beginning to get a little worried, too. Something might happen to him.
Macho Mouth can take care of himself. Maybe he stood you up, Marianne.
Oh, Gil, he's not like you.
Oh, then where is he?
I told you I don't know. He has to keep odd hours now with this new job that Vince gave him. You know, I don't even know what kind of work he's involved with. No, that's why I'm worried about him.
Yeah, well, it seems to me Russ is becoming very much like his old man. Marianne, nobody knows exactly what Vince Cardella does for a living either. But I'll bet his life savings didn't come from some clean game of bingo. You know, if I were you, I'd avoid that family like the plague.
Well, I wouldn't have to wonder where he is right now, Gil, if you'd given him a job here.
Oh, come on. Will you stop with that old feud? The one between Vicky and me is bad enough. And I'll tell you, if I don't get those permits, it's going to get worse.
Jean and I would both like a moment of your time, Dr. Martin.
Oh, well, Jean, don't tell me you want to hear about my morning at the clinic, too.
No, I'll hear enough about that when Mom gets home.
Well, the clinic won't be the only thing Ione will be talking about. I told her I saw Babs yesterday.
Oh, when he and Lori were in Fairmont, I forgot to tell you.
What's Babs doing in Fairmont?
Well, she's working as a waitress at Walter's restaurant there. I almost didn't recognize her. She's wearing this red wig.
Oh, no. Another one of those disguises trying to lose those characters who left her for dead in front of Leon's place.
Let's just hope that she can come out of hiding soon. She's been living in constant fear long enough.
Yeah, well, everyone has. When there's characters like Blue Noble walking around free.
You know, Ben, that's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. I couldn't agree with you more. Blue Nobles really should be off the street before he harms anyone else. But we have to find him first. And another statement from Lori could help.
Jean's doing another article on it, Ben.
Yeah, I'd like to interview Lori. You know, maybe she could remember some more about Blue Noble, some details.
Wait a minute. What do you need her for? She's already identified the man.
I know. But There are other lives that are on the line here, Ben. Have you forgotten about Monk and Hernandez? Until this thing is cleared up, they are still being held for attempted rape charge.
And this is why you want to talk to her.
Yeah.
You wanted to relive a night that almost destroyed her. Jean, you personally want to drag her through that pain again for a couple of punks who could be Blue Noble's buddies for all I know?
Ben, please.
No, no, absolutely not. How dare you? I will never let you interview Lori.
Gil, why don't you just call Vicky? She could have the soil analysis and the permits ready.
Yeah, I was just about to do that. I'll tell you something, no. If she gives me any more excuses, I'm going straight to the commissioner. I mean it.
Office of Planning and Development. May I help you?
Nancy, let me speak to Vicky.
Oh, just a minute. It's for you.
Vicki Lang.
Yeah, Vicky, this is Gil Prescott. Canterbury permits and the soil analysis didn't come in the mail today, and I need them. Now, either I get them today or I'm going to the commissioner. You got it?
Mr. Prescott, your permits were completed this morning. You may pick them up at any time.
Does that include the soil analysis? Is that ready too?
Yes, it's ready too.
Join us again tomorrow for more of Another Life.